So, thanks for joining me, Sam,
Yes.
on this case study. And I think we could just like jump right into it. So, it'd be great if you could just introduce yourself and tell us a bit about your role and the business that you work for.
Yeah, absolutely. I am Sam Bauer. I'm Director of Product Operations at J.Crew Group. My role encompasses overseeing the deployment and training of systems and technologies within J.Crew Group, focusing mostly on the design and sourcing part of the organization. So what's under my role is systems like PLM. We have co-creation tools, obviously 3D tools as well are all within my scope of the role.
Great for you to kind of talk about what the motivation was for you wanting to implement 3D. And then, what was going on within the business that you thought that 3D could be the solution for?
It was, I would say I've always wanted to deploy 3D within the business. I've wanted to do it for years. It's really come from leadership, though, especially my boss's boss. So it's like the chief sourcing officer. He really sees the vision for 3D within our organization. I would say, everybody wants to get to the bottom line of like, how can we find cost savings? And of course, we have tons of samples. So that's obviously like the easiest win is like, how can we eliminate samples in our process?
Yeah.
There are obviously a bunch of other benefits to using 3D, but I would say that that's like the focus is how do we eliminate samples. I'd also say a huge win is just time savings. So we're always trying to look for time savings. Our calendar is probably the thing that gets in our way a lot of the time. So
Yeah.
how can we get a month off of our calendar? And this is one of the ways that we could achieve, cutting out dates from the existing calendar.
Yeah. So when you were thinking about implementing 3D, you weren't coming at it from I guess from a micro level. It wasn't something that very particular within your processes, apart from obviously the cost savings and the overproduction of sampling. I tend to see those as kind of more blue sky things because, you know,
Yeah,
when you're selling 3D, those are the kind of the bigger things that you can eliminate straight away.
yeah.
Is there anything that since you've kind of got, started implementing 3D that you've thought, okay, wow, even it's like micro level, I can really see the impact there.
Yeah, and I'm going to use an example that just came up like a week ago
Oh, cool.
in one of our trainings with in-house in our advanced training sessions. We went over like looking at size runs
Uh-huh.
in Clo, and we all, the tech design team on that call, were like, wow, this is a win for the business. And they actually had a use case for it a week ago, and they did that exact same thing. Instead of getting the full size run uh,
Yeah,
samples, they were able to do it digitally and provide comments in that way. So yeah, that's like, I guess a micro part of the process,
yeah.
but major win
That's
for the team.
fantastic. I think
Yeah,
that you're going to see wins along the way because you're kind of
yeah,
doing the training hand in hand with implementing at the same
yeah,
time. There's always going to be like wins that you never even thought about,
yeah,
which
yeah,
is
yeah,
fantastic.
exactly.
So in terms of like how 3D had the biggest impact, have you seen at this stage that you're at an improvement? Have you actually seen that you've got a return on investment of implementation, or do you see like in real time, cost savings and time savings yet, or are you still at the point of still implementing and gathering that data?
It's still just, we're still figuring it out, I guess, in a way. I would say like the biggest return on investment so far is just gaining the trust of the team in 3D.
Yeah.
And that takes time to build up that trust. We're getting there though. I think, we're only using 3D for a select group of categories right now. The
Mhm.
plan is to roll that out to all categories over the next 5 years. At the end of that is where we're going to see the major return on investment. And it's not just on, the product development part of the life cycle, eliminating samples, reducing time to market, but also customer facing technologies.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
So I don't think we're going to see a major return on investment until we're rolled out to all or most of our categories,
Yeah.
which I think is fine.
Yeah.
It just takes time.
That is the kind of realistic kind of way of seeing 3D implementation. You can have wins along the way, which
Yep.
you're experiencing now, but it's a commitment and it's not a short term, it's not a short term thing. I think there has to
Yeah.
be, it has to be a whole season, before
Yeah. Yeah.
you see the impact, if not two or three.
Yeah. Yeah.
But you know that the wins are going to be there, you know.
Yep.
So
Yep.
just kind of, I guess the small wins kind of just take you on that trajectory towards the bigger wins, and it
Yeah.
keeps people, because you've got to get along the way the bigger buy-in investment, and it keeps people kind of excited along
Yeah.
that journey.
Well, and it's just building the knowledge base. Like,
Yeah,
our tech design team who has been very involved in learning Clo, they can now know what the possible wins are,
yeah,
experience the wins, but then also vocalize that to the other teams who aren't yet using Clo. So it's just like building up the trust and the excitement and knowing the benefits as we move forward. I
yeah,
think that that's been like the challenge before I took on 3D
yeah,
is people within our business didn't fully understand like the whole flow and where it
mm,
could be used. It was 3D was seen as something that the vendors did occasionally, and
yeah,
they would send us like a flat version of a 3D file in a PowerPoint. And so
yeah.
that was design and tech design's experience with 3D. It wasn't even, they weren't even experiencing it in a 3D environment.
Wow.
So I think that there was just like a misunderstanding of what
Uh,
3D was.
yeah,
So it's
yeah.
just like breaking that former knowledge and understanding to what we're doing now.
100%. It's also a massive mindset shift. It's a huge cultural change
Yeah,
within a business, especially if you've got long established processes that people have got used to, and including both of us. We both,
yeah, yeah,
very traditional, long-standing processes. So to kind of change that, to shift that, even if it's a small shift, it does take, it's a mindset thing. It does take oh, okay, not only am I going to have to like learn a new way of possibly working, but I'm going to have to introduce a whole new technology in
yeah, yeah,
what comes with that. Okay. So I think it's a huge undertaking, and it's great that the people that have been really for 3D, along the journey of you implementing it, have become your change champions.
yeah, yep,
So, and that's how you do get that bigger buy-in and build that trust. So
yep.
that's fantastic. That's the offshoot. So in terms of like working with in-house, what do you feel like the biggest impact has been, like that we have had working together?
I would go with two things. The first I already discussed about just establishing that trust with the business. So having, your team experienced designers that can speak the language
Yeah,
of our designers and tech designers. I think that that was absolutely key to helping get our team on board. So yeah, the trust, because like that again was something that just wasn't there. There was like the misunderstanding of what 3D was. They didn't have trust in 3D because of that misunderstanding. So in-house helped to bridge the gap,
yeah,
especially with their design and tech design team there. So that's the first thing. And then yeah, just building up our knowledge. So we've done the training with in-house over the last year or
yeah,
something.
yeah,
But that pace of us learning has actually been very helpful for us. We've been able to learn Clo at a slow but very steady pace.
yeah,
Um, so yeah, that has been invaluable to us learning Clo in depth, but not being overwhelmed
yeah.
by what we're learning, which I think was also what was maybe done previously is like learning everything about Clo in a week. And you
Exactly.
don't have time to think and digest and deploy in the business if it's
Yeah.
done.
And that's really been like a cornerstone of our approach, that holistic approach, because, no one learns anything in a day, and you've still got
Hmm.
the business off fashion to get on with.
Yeah, yeah, Yeah.
as well as learning. So it's really about, working side by side as collaborators rather than, here's our set,
Yeah. Yeah.
learnings and you must learn this in this amount of time. Yeah,
Yeah.
you do have to boundary, we have to boundary it, but I think it's about working within your, design schedule and your critical path. So it actually
Yeah.
get the most out of your training. So that's really
Yeah.
good to hear. It's fantastic.
Yeah.
And then what was your motivation to work with us in the first place? Like, what made you just like, I know you personally, because we had a lot of meetings. We had quite a few meetings before we got the green light. But what was it about us that when, like, the higher ups gave us the green light?
I would say again, just going back to that first thing regarding trust, this just the fact that your team is built with people that have worked in the industry that understand it, that speak our language. That
Yeah.
was the differentiating factor for us, I would say.
Cool. That's a good thing. And like, how would you describe your overall experience of working with us?
A what?
How would you
Sorry.
describe the overall experience of working with in-house and training with us and taking you through? Because we had just implemented this end-to-end solution. So you were like one of the pioneers of going through it, where we were taking you through a journey of 3D and implementing 3D so that you had a real kind of good foundation to implement 3D and roll it out across your business.
I would say I would describe the experience as I would say that you all are very flexible is what comes to mind. The fact that you could just adapt to what our needs were, it was very tailored
Yeah.
uh, to what our needs was, which is so essential for us. Yeah, and then just the fact that you've been able to be with us for so long as well. Yeah, I
Yeah.
just your team has just been so flexible and understanding and yeah.
I mean, again, I think agility is key in this.
Yeah, yeah,
It can't just be, there's no linear path to implementation or to learning. So I think that being able to offer that tailored experience is invaluable for us as
yeah,
well, because
yeah,
we get to learn from you along the way, because I think that a lot of people within 3D, this is like digressing a little bit, but I
mhm,
think that a lot of people it does within learning and with implementation, it does become a bit, cookie cutter. As a cookie
yeah,
cutter
yeah,
working. And that probably does work for some businesses, but I just having had experience of working in the fashion industry, I
yeah,
just think that we both know that it's just not like that,
yeah,
that people learn in different ways and at different times.
yeah,
Some people are more visual, some people love written, everything written down for them. So I think it's taking that time to understand how you work and understand what your team needs in terms of, especially for training, I think, as
yeah. Well, absolutely, yeah. And
is
allowing the time to, well, obviously learn, but then also to practice. That was absolutely key in learning Clo because it all connects,
yeah,
you know?
exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. Um, and just to like wrap things up, uh, how likely would you be to recommend us, number one? And two, what would you say to another business who is, considering 3D and maybe considering going through our end-to-end solution? Like, what advice would you give them?
I would say first, very likely to recommend. I have nothing but praise for in-house and the work that has been done. And I could say that that's also my managers, their managers. I mean, we keep going back to you, so I guess
Yeah.
that's good proof there. And then companies that are looking to begin this journey, that was the question.
Yeah, or like, yeah, considering 3D and considering going through a journey like the end-to-end solution that we offer.
I would say don't overwhelm yourself with doing everything at once. I think it's fine to do it in bite-size pieces and just learn as you go and figure out how to like get to the end. And it may take a long time, but there's nothing wrong with that as long as you're moving forward.
Yeah. And that's the thing, I think, like, yes, we've worked together now for over a year, but I feel like it's more of a partnership than a, you know, here's the implementation done, finished.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Because it's a journey. You're never going to get to the end because as technology evolves,
yeah,
you're going to evolve with it, and how
yeah,
you use it is going to evolve. So it's always going to be a journey.
yeah,
Um, so I'd like to just say thank you, Sam, for taking the time out to be in this case
yeah,
and
of
just
course.
always great to talk about 3D with you
Yes.
and and how great you've been at spearheading 3D in your business. So thank you so much. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you.